When people say Bill Faubus has the most unusual pet in Fayetteville, they're not lying. Ringo is an 8-month-old African lion, and though he weighs about 125 pounds, he's really just a big kitten. He enjoys playing with string and exploring his yard, and of course he likes to chew things. His owner says Ringo's a terrible show-off when other people are around, but he claims the big cat's normally very lazy. In fact, Faubus says Ringo spends most of his day just lying around. Bill Faubus says he's always wanted to own a pet lion, although he's not sure exactly why. He admits he wouldn't recommend it for everyone. It takes a lot of work to change a king of the beasts into a pussycat.
You've got to, try to correct him at all times, but yet, show that you're not being mean to him, because if they think you're being mean, well, they'll never forget it. But as far as, house training one, well, he's just like any other animal. There's been a lot of people that stop and let their kids play with him, and there's a lot of people come by, all the time, stop and look at him.
Faubus says he's taken precautions to make sure Ringo doesn't hurt anyone. When Faubus isn't home to keep an eye on his pet, Ringo is penned up with a family dog. According to Faubus, the two get along fine, but then the dog is part wolf and more than able to hold his own. Between Ringo and the wolf, a visitor to the Faubus house might think he'd stepped out of Fayetteville and into an episode of Wild Kingdom, or at least a segment of What's My Lion? In Fayetteville, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People.
It seems some works of art were meant to endure, while others, by their very nature, were not. Such is the work of Stephen Garcia, who was apprenticed 14 years ago in the culinary art of garde-manger, or cold foods. While that doesn't require one to have ice in their veins, to do what Garcia does, it helps to have ice foremost on your mind. From these 300-pound blocks come swans and fruit baskets, or twin birds on an ornate pedestal, or chicken in a basket, a la Garcia. Ice sculpting is nothing new. Garcia says it's an art dating back to the aristocratic banquets of European royalty.
In days when they had grand buffets, they couldn't keep food cold, so they devised this idea, these 600-700-pound blocks, and put all their cold foodstuffs on it.
It somehow doesn't bother Garcia that his creations have a lifespan of only 3 or 4 hours. As a matter of fact, the melting, he says, gives his work more than just a different look.
I feel that it attains a better look as it melts down. Like every cut I make, as it melts down, will attain more character, more depth.
With a look at a melting art form, Mike Thomas reporting for the News People.
Workers at the L&L Packaging Company were apparently trying to repair a compactor in the paper recycling plant when the fire broke out. Rogers Fire Chief Ken Riley says a bearing in the compactor apparently overheated, igniting paper lint near the machine and sparking a flash fire that quickly spread through the building. According to Riley, the plant's sprinkler system had been out of order for some time. He said the building was equipped with fire extinguishers and water hoses, but he said there was no way the 6 workers in the plant at the time could contain the fire.
With the extremely rapid fire spread that they encountered, it would have been folly for them to attempt to fight that kind of fire.
The fire broke out shortly before 7 o'clock last night. By the time local firefighters reached the scene, the building was engulfed in flames that fed on thick bales of paper and fiber. Riley said his men were making good progress until the roof over the central section of the building collapsed.
Once the roof collapsed due to the structural failure caused by the heat, the roof then actually protected the flaming material from the water streams and made the job that much more difficult.
About 70 firemen helped fight the blaze and managed to prevent serious structural damage to the north and south sections of the building, although most of the contents of the plant were destroyed. The fire was brought under control at about 10 o'clock last night, but Riley says the last firefighters didn't leave the scene until 10:30 this morning. Cleanup operations have begun at the plant, but company officials say it's too early to put a dollar figure on the damage done last night. In Rogers, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People. Chess is big in Rogers these days. You might even say giant size. A local resident, John Church, built this unique chess set, and today he donated it to the Rogers Youth Center. Church wants the set used to raise money for the Arkansas Association for Independence of the Disabled, or AID. Thanks to Church, you don't have to be a grand master now. For a modest donation, you can still play chess on a grand scale.
There's been a lot of interest so far. Everybody I've talked to says, hey, that's great, and I'd like to come and see it. And so hopefully we will get a lot of interest in this, and we'll bring in some money for aid.
Church demonstrated his idea this afternoon in an exhibition match with a team led by Rogers Mayor John Sampier. Like all good chess competitions, a lot of thought went into each move, with both sides sizing up their opponents cautiously. Everyone involved got their money's worth. The game lasted more than 3 hours. The last time we checked, the mayor's team had an edge. In Rogers, this is Steve Voorhees reporting for the News People.
They don't know whether it was a tornado or powerful wind that struck this morning, but Brenda and Dale Farmer do know their home is gone. The farmers were at work when their mobile home was demolished. Neighbors say it took less than 2 minutes for the storm to move through and take the farmer's trailer home with it.
After the storm was over, we began to look around, and this is the first thing we saw. And my wife, she said, it don't look right over across that way. And I said, well, hell, it ain't that way. I said, their trailer house has gone plumb across the field over there.
Friends and neighbors spent the afternoon helping the farmers pick up what's left of their home. It seems that clothing was about the only thing worth picking up.
It has to just make you want to cry.
Yep. Just about. But
Still in one piece.
Although the storm took their home, Brenda and Dale Farmer say they're thankful it didn't take their lives. Reporting for the News People from Cave Springs, I'm Wendy Burkeen. The Fayetteville Police Department provides its city officers with bulletproof vests. Patrolmen say for that they're thankful.
It always adds a little bit of comfort, but you can't take the attitude that it's a false courage and go in thinking that you're not vulnerable, because you always are vulnerable.
I've been in numerous situations where I've been very thankful that I've had my vest on. It does make you feel a little more secure when you're trying to disarm someone with a handgun. Even though you're still scared to death, it does help somewhat.
Although Fayetteville police have been using protective vests for quite some time, the expense has kept many other departments from having them. About 30 police chiefs meeting in Fayetteville today were told of a plan initiated by Charter Vista Hospital and First Federal of Arkansas. The plan would provide all law enforcement patrolmen in the state with bulletproof protection. Although the idea was met with enthusiasm, some chiefs say telling criminals police are wearing vests might also be telling them to shoot above the chest.
There's been a lot of talk recently about excess press coverage when it comes to bulletproof vests, but bulletproof vests are a necessity.
I don't think he thinks where he's shooting. I don't think he aims at the head or anything. I think it's done on impulse.
Organizers say they hope the fundraising effort generates enough money by the end of next month to accomplish their goal. With the recent rash of violent crime in the state, they say bulletproof vests are a luxury the state cannot afford to be without. Reporting for the News People from Fayetteville, I'm Wendy Burkeen.
Traditionally in Arkansas, state troopers shoulder the responsibility of giving driver's tests to the public. A state legislative committee is now looking into the idea of transferring that responsibility to the state revenue department. They feel that this action will free 27 state troopers statewide to handle more hazardous jobs in law enforcement. The troopers themselves feel this is an idea whose time has come.
I think the proposal is very worthwhile, and some people, including the Director of State Police, have given this a lot of thought, and apparently some legislators have, according to the press. And I think that in 1985 we'll see the drivers examining transferred from this department over into the Department of Finance Administration.
According to the transfer proposal, civilian driver testing could also save the state money by having the additional troopers available for patrol. This pleases the state troopers because they need the extra manpower to properly do their job. Driver testing involves giving an eye test, written test, and the actual driver's test itself. All are jobs easily handled by a civilian tester. As one state trooper pointed out, the only hazardous thing about it all could be driving down the road with a frightened 16-year-old. In Fayetteville, I'm Bill Rozelle for the News People.